the discovery of Project Leviathan. Emergency klaxon echoed through the corridors of Earth Defense Command as Captain Elena Rodriguez sprinted toward the Situation Room. Her boots clicked against the metal flooring, while red warning lights bathed everything in an ominous glow. The message had come through every communication channel across the solar system just 30 minutes ago, and Elena still couldn't believe what she had heard. The Zeralon Empire had given humanity 72 hours to surrender all territories and submit to their rule. Refusal meant complete extermination. No negotiations. No mercy. Just death for every man, woman, and child in human space. Elena burst through the Situation Room doors to find chaos. Officers ran between workstations, their faces pale with terror. Admiral Marcus Thompson stood at the center of the room, his weathered face grim as he studied the tactical displays. "Status report," Elena demanded, catching her breath. "It's bad, Captain," Admiral Thompson replied without looking away from the screens. Long-range sensors confirm 500 Zeralon warships massing at the edge of our solar system. Their smallest destroyer outguns our heaviest cruiser. We have 42 operational ships total. Elena felt her stomach drop. 42 ships against 500. The mathematics of destruction were simple and terrifying. Earth's fleet had been designed for exploration and peacekeeping, not warfare against a galactic empire that had conquered dozens of species. What about allies? Elena asked desperately. The Centauri Republic? The Vegan Trade Union? Admiral Thompson finally turned to face her, and Elena saw something she had never seen before in his eyes. Complete hopelessness. They've all declared neutrality. The Zeralon Empire made it clear that any species helping humanity would share our fate. We're alone, Captain. Elena stared at the tactical display, showing Earth's pathetic defensive fleet. Families lived on those worlds. Children played in parks under alien suns. Scientists worked to unlock the mysteries of the universe. Artists created beauty that transcended species barriers. All of it would be gone in 72 hours. There has to be something, Elena whispered. Some weapon we haven't considered. Some technology we've forgotten. The word forgotten sparked something in Elena's memory. She had heard stories during her academy days about classified projects from the old Earth Civil War. Rumors of weapons so terrible they had been locked away after the war ended. Most cadets assumed they were just legends, but what if they weren't? Admiral, I need access to the classified archives, Elena said suddenly. Everything from the Civil War period, 50 years ago. Captain, we don't have time to chase ghosts from the past. Sir, with respect, we don't have time for anything else. Our conventional forces can't stop them. If there's even a chance that some forgotten project could help us, we have to try. Admiral Thompson studied her face for a long moment, then nodded. Computer, grant Captain Rodriguez level black clearance to all Civil War archives. Elena's hands flew over the computer interface as decades of classified files flooded her screen. Most were routine military reports, but she searched for anything unusual. Project Starfire, Project Thunder, Project Eclipse. Nothing seemed relevant until she found a single line buried in a supply manifest from 51 years ago. Project Leviathan. Facility designation, Luna 7. Status, sealed by executive order. Her fingers trembled as she dug deeper. The files were heavily encrypted, but her clearance allowed access to fragments. What she found made her blood run cold and her heart race simultaneously. Project Leviathan had been humanity's doomsday weapon during the Civil War, a single ship designed to end the conflict by being so powerful that neither side would dare continue fighting. The project had succeeded beyond all expectations, creating something so terrifying that both sides agreed to seal it away rather than use it. Admiral, Elena called out, her voice cracking. I found something. The room fell silent as Elena transferred the files to the main display. Grainy images showed a massive ship under construction in a hidden lunar facility. Technical specifications scrolled past, numbers that seemed impossible, even by current standards. Dr. James Morrison appeared in a 50-year-old video log, his young face serious as he spoke directly to the camera. If you're watching this, it means humanity faces extinction. The Nemesis is operational, but it comes with a terrible price. This ship doesn't just defeat enemies, it erases them from existence. Use it only if there's no other choice. Is the facility still there? Admiral Thompson asked. Elena's fingers danced across the controls. Luna 7 showed up on current satellite scans as an abandoned mining station, but the power readings were all wrong. Something was still active down there. Sir, I'm reading minimal power signatures from Luna 7. The facility might still be operational. Asterisk, that was 50 years ago, Captain. Even if the ship still exists, would it still work? Elena pulled up more files, finding maintenance logs that continued right up to the present day. Someone had been keeping the facility running all this time. The final log entry was dated just 6 months ago. Someone's been maintaining it. Elena breathed. Sir, I request permission to take a team to Luna 7 immediately. Admiral Thompson looked at the tactical display showing the approaching Zerolon fleet, then back at Elena. Take the fastest ship we have. If this is real, it might be our only hope. 2 hours later, Elena found herself aboard the courier ship Swift Arrow, racing toward Earth's moon with a small team of specialists. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chun, her best engineer. Major David Park, demolitions expert. Dr. Lisa Wong, computer systems analyst. Each of them had volunteered knowing they might be flying toward nothing but another dead end. Dark Side of the Moon had always felt hostile to Elena, but now it seemed to press against their ship with malevolent intent. Facility Luna 7 appeared on their sensors as a small cluster of buildings built into a crater wall. It looked abandoned, just another relic from humanity's expansion into space. Their landing was smooth, but Elena felt tension building in her chest as they approached the facility's main airlock. The door was sealed, but Dr. Wang's scans showed it had power. Someone or something was waiting inside. Elena entered her military access codes, not really expecting them to work on a 50-year-old system. To her surprise, the massive door groaned open, revealing a dimly lit corridor that stretched into the facility's depths. Life support is active, Lieutenant Commander Chun reported, checking her instruments. Gravity, atmosphere, temperature, all normal. They moved carefully through corridors, lined with equipment Elena couldn't identify. Everything was clearly ancient, but meticulously maintained. Someone had been caring for this place for decades. Hello? Elena called out, her voice echoing off the walls. Is anyone there? A door at the end of the corridor opened, and an elderly man stepped out. He was tall and thin, with white hair and sharp blue eyes that seemed to recognize Elena despite never having met her. Captain Rodriguez, the old man said in a voice that carried authority despite his age. I've been expecting you. I'm Dr. James Morrison. Elena stared at the man from the video logs, now aged 50 years, but still very much alive. Dr. Morrison? You've been here all this time? Someone had to maintain the Nemesis, he replied simply. I built her, so I stayed to watch over her. I always knew someone would come eventually. When humanity needed her most, *, Dr. Morrison led them deeper into the facility, past workshops and laboratories that looked like they belonged in a science fiction movie. Finally, they reached a massive chamber with a transparent aluminum wall. Beyond it, Elena saw something that took her breath away. A nemesis filled the chamber like a sleeping dragon. It was enormous, easily twice the size of Earth's largest warship, but its design was unlike anything Elena had ever seen. The hull was matte black and covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift in the dim light. Weapon ports dotted its surface like the scales of some mythical beast. "She's beautiful," Lieutenant Commander Chun whispered. "She's terrifying," Dr. Morrison corrected. The Nemesis was designed for one purpose: to end wars by being so overwhelmingly powerful that no enemy would dare continue fighting. Her AI system, Prometheus, can coordinate attacks across multiple star systems simultaneously. Her weapons can crack planets. Elena pressed her hand against the viewing wall. "Will she work after 50 years? "Oh, yes," Dr. Morrison smiled grimly. "I've kept her in perfect condition. The fusion reactor has been on standby power all this time. Full activation will take 6 hours. The Xerolon fleet arrives in 68 hours, Major Park said. "That gives us time." Dr. Morrison's expression grew serious. "Captain, you need to understand what you're asking. The Nemesis isn't just a ship. She's a weapon of mass destruction. Once Prometheus goes fully online, the AI will assess the threat and recommend the most efficient solution. If you authorize full combat protocols, the Nemesis won't just defeat the Xerolon fleet. She'll hunt down every Xerolon world and reduce their entire civilization to ash. Asterisk. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "We just need to defend Earth, not commit genocide. I'll program the AI with strict engagement parameters," Dr. Morrison nodded. "But understand, Captain, war changes people. It changes machines, too. Prometheus was designed to win at any cost." Elena looked out at the sleeping warship and made her decision. "Begin the activation sequence, Doctor. It's time to wake up the dragon." Over the next 6 hours, Elena watched in fascination as the Nemesis came to life. Systems that had been dormant for half a century hummed to activity. The ship's hull began to glow faintly as power flowed through superconducting channels built into the armor itself. Dr. Morrison moved between control panels with the practiced efficiency of someone who had spent 50 years maintaining this facility. His aged hands flew over controls, entering activation codes and running diagnostics on systems Elena couldn't even name. "Fusion reactor at 20%, Dr. Morrison announced. "Gravitational drive coming online. Weapons systems charging." A voice suddenly filled the chamber, artificial, but somehow more human than any AI Elena had ever heard. "Prometheus online. Running full system diagnostics. Dr. Morrison, it has been 187 days since last interaction. Has the emergency threshold been reached?" "Yes, Prometheus," Dr. Morrison replied. "Earth faces invasion by the Xerolon Empire. 500 hostile ships will arrive in 62 hours. Authorization is being granted for defensive operations only." There was a pause that lasted exactly 5 seconds. Elena imagined the AI processing the threat data, running calculations, analyzing probabilities. When Prometheus spoke again, there was something in its voice that sounded almost like excitement. "Threat assessment complete. Enemy force significantly exceeds Earth's defensive capability. Conventional defense impossible. Recommendation: full combat authorization for optimal efficiency." "Negative," Elena said firmly. "Prometheus, this is Captain Elena Rodriguez, current mission commander. You are authorized to defend Earth and her colonies. Rules of engagement: disable or destroy attacking forces only. No pursuit beyond the solar system. No attacks on civilian targets." Another pause. "Captain Rodriguez, my calculations indicate that limited engagement parameters reduce successful mission probability by 37%. Full combat protocols would ensure complete elimination of the Xerolon threat." Elena looked at Dr. Morrison, who nodded encouragingly. "Prometheus, you will follow the engagement parameters I've specified. Earth needs to be defended, not avenged." "Acknowledged, Captain." "Preparing for limited engagement protocols. Dr. Morrison moved to the main control panel and entered a series of commands. Throughout the facility, lights brightened as the Nemesis drew more power. Elena could feel a subtle vibration through the floor as the massive ship prepared for launch. Reactor at full power, Dr. Morrison announced. All systems operational. The Nemesis is ready for combat. Elena activated her communicator. Swift Arrow, this is Captain Rodriguez. Prepare for immediate departure. We need to get back to Earth Defense Command. As they prepared to leave, Dr. Morrison handed Elena a small device. This is a command override for Prometheus. If the AI starts to exceed your parameters, use this to shut down non-essential combat systems. Elena pocketed the device. Aren't you coming with us, Doctor? The old man shook his head. My place is with the Nemesis. I've spent 50 years preparing for this moment. I won't abandon her now. Elena wanted to argue, but something in Dr. Morrison's eyes told her it would be useless. This man had devoted his entire life to maintaining humanity's ultimate weapon. He wouldn't leave now, when she was finally needed. As the Swift Arrow departed Luna 7, Elena watched through the viewport as massive doors opened in the crater wall. The Nemesis emerged like a shadow given form, her dark hull absorbing the starlight around her. She was magnificent and terrifying, humanity's answer to an impossible threat. Elena activated her communicator. Earth Defense Command, this is Captain Rodriguez. Operation Leviathan is active. The prototype is operational and moving to intercept the Zeralon fleet. Admiral, Thompson's voice crackled through the speaker. Copy that, Captain. Long-range sensors show the enemy fleet crossing the Jupiter orbit. They'll reach Earth in 36 hours. Elena watched the Nemesis accelerate away from the moon, her drive system creating ripples in space-time itself. Whatever happened next, humanity would not go quietly into extinction. They had built something beautiful and terrible, and now it was time to see if human ingenuity could triumph over impossible odds. Asterisk. The battle for Earth's survival. Admiral Kexther of the Zeralon Empire stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest, watching the primitive human solar system grow larger on the tactical displays. His scaled skin rippled with satisfaction as he observed his fleet's perfect formation. 500 warships moved through space like a choreographed dance of death, their weapons already charging for the coming slaughter. The humans had ignored the surrender deadline, just as Kexther had expected. In his 4 decades of military service, he had conquered 12 species, and they all made the same mistake. They believed their primitive weapons could somehow defeat the might of the Zeralon Empire. They were always wrong. Fleet Admiral, his tactical officer reported, we have crossed the gas giant's orbit. Human resistance appears minimal. 42 small craft detected in orbit around the 3rd planet. Kexther's mandibles clicked in amusement. 42 ships against 500. These humans are either incredibly brave or completely insane. Orders, sir? Maintain formation. Target the human fleet first, then the orbital installations. Leave the planet intact. We'll need the industrial facilities for the Empire. As the Zeralon fleet approached Mars, Kexther felt the familiar rush of impending victory. Another species would fall. Another world would join the Empire. Another chapter would be written in his glorious military record. The humans would be remembered only as a footnote in galactic history. Then, his sensor officer made a sound Kexther had never heard before, a sharp intake of breath that suggested pure terror. Fleet Admiral, the officer whispered, we have a new contact emerging from behind the human moon. Single vessel, but the energy readings ... double quotes. He paused, checking his instruments. Sir, the readings must be wrong. One ship cannot generate this much power. Kexther strode to the sensor station and looked at the displays. What he saw made his blood turn cold. A single ship was accelerating from the human moon, but the power signature was unlike anything in the Zeralon database. It was generating more energy than a dozen of his dreadnoughts combined. Visual confirmation, Kexther ordered. The main screen shifted to show the approaching vessel, and Kexther felt something he hadn't experienced in 20 years of conquest: fear. The ship was enormous, easily twice the size of his flagship, but it was the design that truly unsettled him. The hull was dark as space itself, covered in geometric patterns that seemed to absorb sensor beams. Weapon ports lined its surface like the eyes of some ancient predator. Analysis, Kexther demanded. Unknown design. Fleet Admiral. Hull composition appears to be some kind of advanced composite material. Weapon systems. I count over 300 separate targeting arrays. 300 weapons on a single ship. Kexther's largest dreadnought carried 80. Communications. Open a channel to the human fleet. A human face appeared on the screen, a female with short dark hair and determined eyes. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of Earth Defense Command. You have entered human space with hostile intent. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Asterisk Kexther activated his translation matrix. Captain Rodriguez, I am Fleet Admiral Kexther of the Zeralon Empire. You are outnumbered 500 to 1. Your new ship changes nothing. Captain Rodriguez smiled, and Kexther was disturbed to see no fear in her expression. Admiral, you're looking at this all wrong. You're not outnumbered. You're surrounded. The transmission ended, leaving Kexther staring at a blank screen. Surrounded? By one ship? The human was either bluffing or insane. Fleet Admiral, his tactical officer called out. The human vessel is accelerating directly toward our formation. Current speed. This can't be right. Sir, it's moving at 0.7 light speed. Nothing could move that fast in normal space. The energy requirements alone would drain the power cores of a dozen ships. Yet the sensors confirmed what his tactical officer reported. The human vessel was approaching its 70% of light speed, its weapons charging as it came. Asterisk all ships. Combat formation, Kexther ordered. Prepare for engagement. Target that ship with everything we have. The Zeralon fleet responded with practiced efficiency. 500 warships arranged themselves in overlapping defensive positions, their shields creating an impenetrable wall of energy. Plasma cannons powered up. Missile tubes loaded their deadly cargo. The most powerful fleet in the galaxy prepared to destroy the single human ship Dot. Then the Nemesis opened fire, and Kexther realized he had never truly understood what war meant. Asterisk. The human ship fired weapons that moved at 99% of light speed. There was no warning, no time to evade. One moment the projectiles didn't exist. The next they were punching through Zeralon shields and armor like they were made of paper. The kinetic energy was so massive that ships didn't just explode. They disintegrated into clouds of superheated plasma. 7 destroyers ceased to exist in the first salvo. 3 cruisers were reduced to spinning debris. A dreadnought, one of the Empire's most powerful warships, simply vanished, leaving only an expanding sphere of ionized particles. Return fire. Kexther screamed. The Zeralon fleet unleashed everything they had. Plasma bolts, quantum torpedoes, particle beams. Enough firepower to crack a planet's crust poured toward the approaching human ship. Any normal vessel would have been vaporized instantly. The Nemesis took the hits and kept coming. Its shields flared with each impact, but regenerated faster than the Zeralon weapons could drain them. Its dark hull absorbed energy that should have melted through any known material. And it continued, firing those terrible kinetic weapons, each shot removing another Zeralon ship from existence. Damage report? Kexther demanded. 23 ships destroyed. Fleet Admiral. 41 damaged. The human vessel shows no sign of damage. Kexter stared at the tactical display in horror. In less than 2 minutes of combat, his fleet had lost nearly 20% of its strength, while the human ship remained completely unharmed. How is this possible? He whispered. His science officer was frantically scanning the human vessel. Fleet Admiral, I'm detecting some kind of adaptive armor system. The hull is actually learning from our attacks and adjusting its molecular structure to resist them. And the power source? Sir, I think they're using controlled gravitational collapse to generate energy. They're literally harnessing the power of a black hole, a weapon system powered by a miniature black hole. No wonder it could move at such incredible speeds and regenerate its shields instantly. The humans had built something that violated everything Kexter thought he knew about military technology. The Nemesis fired again, using different weapons this time. Kexter watched in fascination and terror as thousands of tiny objects emerged from launch tubes along the human ship's hull. They spread out like a swarm of insects, each one no larger than a fighter craft. What are those? Kexter asked. Unknown, Fleet Admiral. They appear to be some kind of drone or missile system. The drones moved with impossible coordination, as if controlled by a single intelligence. They weaved through Zeralon point defense fire, dodging plasma beams and interceptor missiles with fluid grace. Then they began attaching themselves to Zeralon ships, dozens per vessel, covering hulls like mechanical parasites. All ships, activate emergency protocols, Kexter ordered. Purge all external. The drones detonated simultaneously. Not with explosive force, but with something far worse. Each drone released a burst of exotic matter that caused local space-time to collapse. The effect was like watching reality tear itself apart. 50 Zeralon ships were caught in cascading gravitational anomalies that crushed them out of existence. Cascade torpedoes, Kexter's science officer whispered in awe. They're using weaponized black holes. Fleet Admiral, this is technology beyond anything in our databases. These humans, they're not just advanced. They're working with principles we don't even understand. Kexter realized with growing horror that he wasn't fighting a primitive species. He was facing a civilization that had somehow developed weapons technology centuries ahead of the galactic standard. But how? Their other ships were clearly inferior. How had they built this one monster? The answer came from an unexpected source. The human ship transmitted a message that appeared on every screen in the Zeralon fleet. An elderly human male appeared, his white hair and weathered face speaking of great age. I am Dr. James Morrison, creator of the Nemesis, the old man said calmly. You came here to destroy our world and enslave our people. You made a critical error in judgment. You assumed we were weak because our fleet was small. You didn't understand that humans don't just build weapons to fight wars. We build weapons to end wars permanently. Dr. Morrison gestured to something off-screen, and the display shifted to show the interior of the human ship. It was vast, filled with technology that hurt to look at directly. At the center stood a holographic projection of an artificial intelligence with features that seemed almost human. This is Prometheus, the ship's AI. For 50 years, it has been studying every military conflict in galactic history. It knows the tactics, strategies, and weaknesses of every species in the galaxy, including yours. The AI spoke with a voice that somehow conveyed both artificial precision and human emotion. Admiral Kexter, your empire has conquered 12 species using standard dominance tactics. Superior numbers, concentrated firepower, psychological warfare through civilian targets. I have analyzed your complete military doctrine. It is insufficient. Kexter felt his scales ripple with rage. You think your one ship can defeat the entire Zeralon Empire? Not one ship, Prometheus replied. One idea. The idea that sometimes, when a species is pushed to the edge of extinction, They build something that changes the rules of the game permanently. The Nemesis fired again, this time using weapons that Kexthera's sensors couldn't even identify. Beams of impossible energy lanced out from the human ship, and wherever they touched Zeralon vessels, matter simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not converted to energy, just gone. Matter annihilation beams, Dr. Morrison explained conversationally. We discovered how to unravel the quantum bonds that hold atomic nuclei together. Very efficient for large-scale fleet engagements. 40 more Zeralon ships vanished in that single attack. Kexther's mighty fleet, the terror of the galaxy, was being systematically dismantled by a single human vessel. Fleet Admiral, his communications officer, reported, "We're receiving surrender requests from multiple ships. Morale is collapsing." Kexther looked at his tactical display. Of his original 500 ships, fewer than 300 remained combat effective. The human vessels showed no damage, no sign of depleted resources, no indication that it was even working hard. "All ships, emergency retreat," Kexther ordered. "Jump to hyperspace immediately." "Fleet Admiral," his navigator replied. "We can't. Something is interfering with our jump drives." On the screen, Dr. Morrison smiled sadly. "I'm afraid we can't let you leave just yet. You came here to commit genocide. We can't allow you to try again somewhere else." The Nemesis deployed another new weapon system. A network of energy beams spread out from the ship like a three-dimensional web, encompassing the entire Zeralon fleet. Any ship that tried to jump to hyperspace found its drives disabled by the mysterious energy field. "Neural web," Prometheus explained. "It disrupts the quantum coherence necessary for faster-than-light travel. Your fleet is now contained within this solar system." Kexther realized with growing terror that he was trapped. His fleet was being systematically destroyed by weapons he couldn't understand, deployed by an enemy he had completely underestimated. "What do you want?" He transmitted to the human ship. Captain Rodriguez appeared on his screen again. "Admiral, we want you to understand something. You came here expecting to find a weak species that would roll over and die. Instead, you found humans. We don't roll over. We don't give up. And when someone threatens our families, our children, our way of life, we build things like the Nemesis." Dr. Morrison's voice joined the transmission. "Admiral, my ship could destroy your entire fleet in the next 10 minutes. The weapon systems are barely warmed up. But that's not what we want. We want you to go back to your empire and tell them what you found here." "Tell them what?" Kexther asked. "Tell them that humans are not prey," Captain Rodriguez said firmly. "Tell them we've been building weapons for 50 years that we hoped we'd never need to use. Tell them that if the Zeralon Empire ever threatens humanity again, we won't just defend ourselves. We'll come for you," Prometheus added. "I have been analyzing Zeralon military communications during this engagement. I now have the location of your homeworlds, your military installations, your industrial centers. If your empire attacks humanity, again, I will systematically dismantle your entire civilization." The threat was delivered in the same conversational tone one might use to discuss the weather, which somehow made it infinitely more terrifying. Dr. Morrison appeared on the screen one final time. "Admiral, I'm 93 years old. I've spent 50 years maintaining this ship, hoping I'd never have to use it. Today, you forced my hand. Don't make that mistake again." The neural web dissipated, and Kexther felt his ship's hyperspace drives coming back online. "You're letting us go?" "We're letting you leave," Captain Rodriguez corrected. "After you jettison all weapons and surrender your military database to prove you understand the situation." Kexther had no choice. His weapons were useless against the human ship. His fleet was broken, and his only option was complete surrender. One by one, Zeralon ships began jettisoning their armaments, and transmitting their military secrets to the human vessel. As the defeated fleet prepared to leave Earth's solar system, Kexter transmitted one final message. "Captain Rodriguez, how? How did you build something like this?" Rodriguez smiled, and for the first time, Kexter saw something other than determination in her expression. He saw sadness. "Admiral, we built the Nemesis because we were afraid. Afraid of each other, afraid of war, afraid of what we might become. When the Civil War ended, we locked it away because we were ashamed of what we'd created. But today, you reminded us why we built it in the first place." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "To protect the things we love from monsters." The transmission ended, and the Zeralon fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving Earth's solar system forever. As they departed, Kexter took one last look at the human ship. The Nemesis hung in space like a dark angel, its weapons powered down but ready, its message clear to anyone who might threaten humanity in the future. Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, watching the alien fleet disappear into hyperspace. Around her, the ancient ship hummed with barely contained power, its AI processing the battle data and already planning for future threats that might never come. "Dr. Morrison," she said into her communicator, "the fleet has withdrawn. Mission accomplished." There was a long pause before the elderly scientist replied. His voice was tired, filled with the weight of years and choices. "Thank you, Captain. The Nemesis will return to Luna 7 for maintenance. Prometheus will return to standby mode." Helena understood the unspoken message. Dr. Morrison would go back to his solitary vigil, watching over humanity's ultimate weapon, hoping it would never be needed again. As the Nemesis turned toward Earth's moon, Helena reflected on what they had accomplished. They had saved their species, protected their worlds, and sent a message to the galaxy that would echo for generations. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not prey. And when pushed to the edge of extinction, humans didn't just fight back. They built dragons, asterisk,